even though you know analytically that it's not true and that most of this stuff is just a facade, it still affects you mentally. And so my goal for this year is to kind of detach, not detach from trading. So I still want to really follow the industry, follow the trends, but detach more from just the noise, right?
Hey everyone, welcome to the Anarchy Podcast. 99% of traders will never make consistent profits. So why listen to the 99% of advice? On this show, we're going to challenge some of the most hallowed and repeated tenets of trading, and in doing so, set you up to succeed where others fail. Spoiler alert, we don't have a secret strategy or magic wand that will let you skip out on the hard work of learning the markets, but we can debunk viewpoints that are holding you back. If that sounds good to you, come join us.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Anarchy Podcast. Happy New Year, 2024. This year's flown by. We have a ton to be thankful for. We're thankful for all of you guys. But since this episode drops on January 1st, this is the time of year where people make New Year's resolutions, make goals for the coming year. So we thought it would be a perfect time to go over Jordan and my New Year's trading resolutions for 2024. And encourage you to follow along. Break out your notes app, piece of paper, and write down some trading resolutions. Not too many, but one or two trading resolutions of your own for the coming year. While Jordan and I kind of go over our goals for the coming year ourselves. Jordan, how you doing?
Doing well, Levi. Merry Christmas. Had a great Christmas with the kids and with the family. I got to tell you, when you have six kids, Christmas shopping starts to get real expensive. But anyway, it was a great time. My kids like went to bed at like 11 o'clock at night and then woke up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. So very little sleep, but it was
Good
a lot of
Lord.
fun.
Good
And
Lord.
yeah,
That's
now
right.
moving
You have
into
a new one.
yeah. It's
Keeping
not
you
getting
up.
much sleep anyway because he's keeping us up anyway. I mean, mostly my wife,
Yeah.
but definitely keeping me up a little bit as well. But yeah, this episode, I really wanted to dive into kind of New Year's resolutions. I think it's very common for people to make New Year's resolutions, and they talk about what they're going to do or what they're not going to do. And honestly, most of the time, I poo-poo New Year's resolutions because I feel they just fall flat, and people like I feel like they're stupid for the most part. But I really want to take the time to actually, I wouldn't even call them resolutions. You could call them New Year's, essentially goals or something like that. Because saying that I'm going to lose 20 pounds or I'm going to do this, well, you can't affect how much weight you can lose, right? Like you can have a goal, but this kind of goes back to some of our other podcasts where let's make some New Year's resolutions that don't have to do with I'm going to make 20% profit. Well, I have a newsflash for you. You have no idea if you're
Can't
going to make
control that.
20% profit. Yeah, you can't control the market, but there are things you can control.
I'm glad you brought that up. It's a perfect time to bring it up because when you make your New Year's resolutions, both today when you're listening to this, it promise you will be really helpful if you do that. Make some trading resolutions. But when you're making your other goals for the year, whenever you make a goal like that, you absolutely hit it on the nail on the head, Jordan. We actually did a whole episode on this. I think it's called Leading Measures for Success. This was a few months back. Go look it up. We dive in kind of deep. But yeah, the main point when you're making a goal is make sure it's trackable. Like there's some actual traceability to it. Like you have a number attached to it is the perfect thing. Can't always do that, but make sure it's trackable. You can actually track it. So at the end of the year, you're not just like, well, yeah, maybe I kind of did it. And make sure it's a leading measure. You did the example of weight loss, which is great. Like, I want to lose 20 pounds. Well, that's hard to control because you don't actually control your weight loss. What you do control though is how many calories you eat and whether you go to the gym every day, right? So maybe your goal can be, hey, I want to eat 2,000 calories and I want to go to the gym 4 times a week. Well, that's a trackable goal and it's a leading measure. Your ultimate goal of losing weight lags. It follows that goal. So you want your goals to be something that are kind of on the front end that if you do those, it'll naturally lead to your kind of desired outcome. So that's kind of the best way to kind of make a goal going to the new year. Also, apologies on my mic quality. I'm up visiting family for the New Year's. Don't have my mic, don't have my setup, so I'm talking on the phone right now. So it's going to be a little bit rougher this episode. So apologies.
Yeah, man. So we can still understand you. A little rough, but hey, Santa clearly did not get you a Starlink setup, which you should definitely be thinking about getting sometime. And you just take Starlink with you, and you just have internet everywhere. But
That's
that
the
being
idea
said, I
eventually.
digress. So yeah, so my first resolution for myself was to better balance my work life trading life persona. And what I mean by that is this past year, I've got the podcast. Was doing live streaming for a while. If you've anyone's noticed, I haven't been doing it for the last month because it was getting to be just too much. And then I'm also trading. And then I've also just started a new job and I'm starting a new business. And so between all of these things, trying to balance my trading time with my family and then with my work has gotten very difficult. And so the one thing that I'm planning on doing this year is putting a maximum time of 2 hours per day dedicated to trading. It's really easy for me to say, like you've heard us all say on the podcast, like, oh, you should spend 2 hours a day. Don't trade all day. Well, easier said than done. I can spend all day about trading. I can be talking to people about trading, recording podcasts about trading, live trading on my own, reviewing my journal, etc. And it's too much. It can definitely affect my personal life. It can affect my business life for the separate in kind of ventures I have going on right now. And so my first resolution is to, again, as you said, Levi, measurable. 2 hours a day max towards trading activities. That means if I spend an hour recording podcasts for the day, then I have an hour left to go trade for the day. No more. I can't trade for 2 hours. So I'm
Mm.
dedicating 2 hours a day to trading in order to kind of bring back my focus to a holistic, viewing my whole life holistically and not getting sucked in to my whole life being trading where I'm writing the ups and downs of every single trade. And it was getting kind of a little bit unhealthy for me mentally. And so for me, the big thing that I'm really focusing on is still being super passionate, dedicated to trading, but just actually putting it in its correct box or in its correct priority in my life so that I truly can be successful in the long term and not just burn out or flame out or, have my family suffer because of it.
I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, we've talked about it before, like to be successful, to be the best at something takes a sort of obsession. And so that comes with like that's a double-edged sword, right? Like to be the best athlete, you have to be willing to kind of obsess over it. And that can be unhealthy if you're not doing that, if you're not doing that well, right? So if you want to be the best trader, right? If you want to be profitable, it does take a little bit of an obsession. Like you can't be, we've mentioned it before, but like kind of dabbling, you can't be dabbling. You got to be kind of all in. You got to be committed. But yeah, that comes with obviously there's another side to that road there that you can fall into, that the other side of the ditch where that obsession kind of takes over your life. So that's great. I like that. I like I like the 2 hours. I like an actual time frame. Are you going to track that? Like, are you going to keep tabs on if you go over or stuff like that? Or are you just going to kind
Yeah,
of,
I'm planning. Well, I'm planning on eyeballing honestly, but you know how eyeballing goes. So I'm actually probably going to make myself my little kid sticker chart, right? My tick chart on the wall. It's going to be
yeah.
it's going to actually become one of my rules that I follow, and so I'm going to add it to my rules list, and so I will be tracking it on a chart on a monthly basis. Yes.
So because I asked that because that's my first one. My first one is to start tracking on a chart like a child. We've talked about it before, how it's valuable, and I've done it, but I haven't stuck with it. And so I want to. My first resolution is to start tracking on a actual chart like a dinosaur. Start tracking on a chart when whether I follow my rules for the day, whether I have followed my routine, and so that's my first resolution, is to start tracking on a actual. There's something visceral, like there's something like that's really hard to explain if you're tracking stuff. There's a reason they use it for kids, right? Because kids are stupid. But then we grow up and we're still stupid. Like, and there's something really valuable about tracking stuff, and it makes it feel much more concrete, much more real. And so yeah, that's my first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to track on a chart whether I'm sticking to my routine and whether I followed my rules for the day. I'm going to give myself a check mark or something. So that's my first resolution for the year.
So to turn it
First of
back on
two.
you, are you going to give yourself a reward if you do, like if you follow, if we you do that for like a month in a row or something? Like, do you have for
That's
yourself
that's
like
a
a little
great question.
reward?
That's a great question. The answer, of course, is yes. I've got to find a. I hadn't thought about it, but that's a no-brainer. I've got to give myself a reward for a month of perfect following my rules. Yeah, yeah. I'll think of something. I'll think of something added to the chart. Perfect month or two. Give myself a reward. Something stupid. I'll buy myself a Lego. That's what it'll be.
I
I'll buy
like it.
myself a Lego. There's never get old. They never get old. Or maybe I'll buy a new game on the VR headset. I'll add something in. Because yeah, you need something to go for. You need something to. I mean, that's what you use the charts for, right? You get the kid gets the perfect week or the perfect month, and they get some goodie. So yeah, I'll add that in for sure. What do you got? What do you got for your second one?
Yeah, so my second one is my resolution for this year is to cut out the noise of trading. And what I mean by that is I'm cutting out all of the other traders and listening to other traders. As we've discussed on this podcast a lot of times, it can be most beginner, you're going to confuse yourself if you're listening to other traders and conflicting strategies, etc. But the problem is,
Hmm.
I trading is such a big hobby that I follow it very closely. So I'm reading news about trading. I'm following other traders. I'm following various prop firms, what's happening in the industry. Like I follow the industry very closely. So it's very hard for me to kind of
Right.
stay detached a little bit. But in following it so closely, you also mess with yourself because even though you know it's scams, it's very hard for you to go through Twitter and see or Facebook and see everyone talking about how they've won this much or they've passed this challenge or they've
Yeah.
won,
Yep.
done this many trades in a row or they've gained 25% in the last week or, stupid stuff like this. Even though analytically that it's not true and that most of this stuff is just a facade, it still affects you mentally. And so my
Yep.
goal for this year is to kind of not detach from trading. So I still want to really follow the industry, follow the trends, but detach more from just the noise, right? So the Facebook pages, the Discord servers, the Twitter, the Twitter feeds, still following it as an industry, still following the news and of course trends and everything, but kind of detaching from just all the noise out there and the trash is kind of a goal of mine this year. Again, this one might be a little bit harder for me to actually measure, but it is something I want to do because I feel that again, I'm really focusing on my psychology this year and really making sure that I'm solid because I've gotten to the point where I've actually been pretty decently profitable now for a while. But I know that in order to actually push myself to the point where I can take it to the next level, I need to be able to really pick up my psychology game. And so, one of the things that I've identified that does that is all this other stuff coming in is really affecting how I feel and think about my trading. And so I'm going to remove that. And hopefully that also then, of course, has a positive impact on my trading moving into 2024.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. It's weird because I'm the exact same way, exact same boat. I think everybody is, right? You go, even though you know better, um, you go online, you spend any amount of time. Like if you're like us, you spend a lot of time. You like trading, right? So it's what you're interested in, it's what you're looking up. And even when you see stuff that you know is BS, right? It still affects you in really weird, profound ways. And I'm not sure why. It's like social media. You can have 100 people who say, "Hey, you're amazing." And then that one person, the one troll who says, "You're ugly." And all of a sudden you're like, "Oh no, am I ugly?" It's like it's really weird how we just like gravitate toward the stuff that hurts us on social media. I don't know why that is, but it's really, really true. So that's a great one. I love that a lot. Um, So you had for your second one, you kind of cutting out the noise. I actually had that in a very similar. I had very similar wording, but meant it in different ways. So cutting out the noise, but during my trading. So I'm a very distracted person, very distracted,
Huh?
and I can get, I can get, um, that affects my trading in kind of big ways often. So I will start trading, but then I'll, start doing stuff. And so I kind of have trading on in the background. So I'm not really I'm not fully focused. Like trading doesn't get my full, undivided, deep thinking. And that just kills your growth. I mean, there's just no way about it. There's no other way to say it. That just kills your growth. That's obviously true. I know that's true. And so this is something that I'm going to be tracking as part of my routine. As my first one was tracking, kind of creating a chart. So this is going to be on there. My routine is meditate uh, or pray for 10 minutes before my trading. Two, look at the news. And then three, turn on my music in my headphones and put my phone on do not disturb um, for 1 hour, one solid hour. And then, then I can take a break or and stuff like that and come back for hour two, but at least one solid hour right in the front, right in the golden sweet zone where I like trading right after the New York Open. Do not disturb. Nothing gets in other than my music and really just cut down on all the distractions to zone in really hard because I need more of that deep focus. I mean, the research on that is just abundantly clear. We are the distracted generation. Um, I was lucky enough, I'm kind of on the edge of it where we didn't have phones growing up, but dang I hopped on the bandwagon real fast. So I'm right in there, very, very distracted. And there's nothing like distraction to kill your like deep focus and deep learning.
Yeah, it's an excellent point, and I think all of us could behoove ourselves to try to focus a bit more.
Ooh,
Again,
good Lord, you're
focusing
talking like you're from the 1800s.
focusing
Boo.
focusing on well, we just saw it, we're a distracted generation. Let's step back to the older
Yeah, yeah,
generations
yeah,
and
yeah,
really
yeah.
focus. And again, as I said, the reason TikTok is so popular now is people, and YouTube shorts and everything else, people have the attention
Mm,
span of a fly. And so taking the time to really just focus on your trading and then stepping away, so like for instance, just my last little word of advice, you can trade for 45 minutes. Like a lot of research shows that you can only really focus for 45 minutes or so, then take a five
sure.
minute break and then come back and spend another 45 minutes and then take a 5 minute break. Like give yourself little breaks and then
Right.
intense periods of focus. And that's going to be really helpful. And yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I'm usually trading. My trading I saw actually improve significantly. And I used to trade in my office in my bedroom, and I would have constantly have the kids in and the wife come in, and my trading immediately improved as soon as I moved to an office upstairs where I don't have any distractions. Like tangibly, actually, science data, like actually, it was significantly measurable how much my trading was impacted when I moved
Mm,
to being able to trade in a non-distracted environment. So totally agree, and a great idea. My way to wrap it up for everyone is, as you've heard from me and Levi, your trading resolutions don't have to be complicated, and they should be personalized to you, and they should be something that of course is going to be able to measure. You're going to be able to measure not in results but in effort. So that means you
mm.
spent a certain amount of time, you followed your rules, and then give yourself a reward. Set up yourself a reward so that when you do that for a month, then get yourself something. Get yourself a Lego. Go out somewhere nice to eat with your partner. Do something to be able to reward yourself and let yourself know that you are on the track to success. I think 2024 is going to be a great year. I think it's going to be a
Hell
crazy
yeah.
year, honestly, in the stock market and the indices for sure. It's going to be a
Yep.
crazy
Yep.
year, but I think it's going to
I'm
be one that
excited.
a lot of people are going to be able to grow and be successful. So wishing you all a happy 2024 ahead, and we look forward to continuing this journey with you.
Happy New Year's.